The people of the future will only have to pull a mill like a donkey for 8 hours a day, and they'll be satisfied with a piece of vanilla-flavored bread. Although they don't know why the company requires them to do this, the poor still willingly stay in this small cell and pull the mill every day, because as long as they reach their monthly goals, their wives and children could enjoy the company's resources. On her first day, Mate was not used to it. At night, there were screams coming from the neighboring cells. It's hard for him to sleep, the voice assistant told him, although each person is tasked with pulling the mill 50 times a day. But if you're the one with the fewest laps out of everyone, you'll get special treatment from the company at night. It's obvious. You can tell by the screams. This treatment is not good. To avoid being last, Matt's first day was a full 100 laps of the mill. He exceeded his goal for the day by a factor of 2. The voice assistant rewarded him with a beautiful piece of music to encourage him. Hearing that sound, a man from the next cell overstruck up a conversation. He wondered how many laps Matt had done to earn such a reward. But when he learned that he had done 100 laps, the neighbor was horrified. He warned Matt not to tell anyone about the number of laps he pulled every day. Otherwise, he might be overtaken by others. After all the people in the cell. After all the men in the cell were in competition. So that day began. Matt began to quietly pull in more and more every day, as his skills grew more proficient. After all, his wife was still pregnant with life on the outside. He pushed the wheel with the determination not to finish last. At 150 laps, Matt was content to go to bed. But suddenly there was a knock on his cell door from the guard. He hadn't realized that he'd had to undergo special treatment today, even though he'd worked so hard on the mill. Under the threat of the guards, Matt took off his clothes and walked out the door. The machine sprayed him with water. Then a soap was thrown at him. Turns out it wasn't a special treat from the company. It was a celebration of his 150 laps, so he was rewarded with a shower. Matt was a little surprised, since there was a reward for 150 laps, so if he reaches a higher number of laps, wouldn't the reward be better? With that in mind, Matt worked even harder to pull the mill. Finally, he broke through his limit. He reached 370 laps in 8 hours. The voice assistant congratulated him. He has broken the highest record in the history of the cell. A huge reward awaits him at noon tomorrow. Matt has been up all night with excitement. Finally, the reward arrives. He opens the box. It's just a pen. The voice assistant told him, this is not just any pen. It's a fountain pen with Matt's name engraved on it. It's a symbol of honor. Matt was furious. It's not like he's going to get any use out of it in this cell. He yelled at himself for pulling 370 laps for nothing. The sound was so loud, the people in the cells around him could hear him. They were furious and verbally attacked Matt. We all used to do 50 laps a day, so it was easy. Now they're getting more and more coiled up because of Matt's insane efforts. Everyone had to work as hard as they could. Matt couldn't sleep a wink all night. The oppressive atmosphere and the physical strain was too much for Matt. He decided to leave the cell and work for another company, but the voice assistant told him that his contract was permanent. He'll be locked in here for the rest of his life. He can't leave, which means no matter how hard Matt works, he'll never see his family again. So what was the point of working so hard? Watching the video of his wife on the screen, Matt's mind was made up. He had to find a way out of the cell. That day, he was lying on the floor resting. Suddenly, he noticed what looked like a line written on the underside of the wooden knob. It said Alex's name. Matt asked his neighbor what it meant. The neighbor told him, Alex was a legend in this prison, because he's the only one who's ever managed to escape. But no one ever knew exactly how he did it. The highly intelligent Matt had a brilliant idea. Since Alex escaped from his cell, then there must be something wrong with this room. He searched every inch of the room, but there's nothing here but a big concrete wall. There was nothing else. He sat down on the grindstone in despair. Suddenly he noticed something wrong with the wall in front of him. He went up to the wall and felt around, and found that there seems to be a circular crack at the bottom of the wall, and it was right in the dead center of the security cameras. Maybe that's where Alex escaped from. He picks up the prize jar he just won. He took it and started poking at the center of the crack. The crisp sound proves that the area is hollow. Matt increased the pressure. He began to chisel away at the base of the wall with the pen, and the concrete wall fell away a little bit as he hit it. It's just a little bit at a time, but he was grasping the last. Matt would keep digging as long as he could. During the day, he worked hard to fulfill the company's assignment of pulling mills. At night, he hid behind a stone pillar and dug furiously. After half a month of hard work, he had finally dug a hole in the wall. There was indeed a passageway to the outside. He ran and plunged his whole body into it. After a long climb, Matt came to a dark space. He couldn't see a thing. He screamed for help. The guards appeared out of nowhere and punched him in the face. When Matt woke up again, he found that the hole he had dug had been arrested, and his prize pen had been confiscated by the company. All his endeavors had come to naught. The voice assistant told him, although he failed in his attempt to break out of prison, but the company appreciates his courage, so they won't punish him in any way. But Matt's neighbor wasn't so lucky, because he revealed information about Alex. The guards stormed right into his cell. Matt felt a deep sense of remorse for breaking his neighbor's brother. He kept apologizing to his neighbor, but he told him in a calm manner he wanted to be free. After all, he probably caused all this. The neighbor was an IT technician at his company. He was involved in the development of an artificial intelligence. It was a huge success. He became an executive. But one day, the boss of their company resigned of his own accord. He handed over the position of chairman of the board to an artificial intelligence, which is now the voice assistant in the cell. Since then, the company has been controlled by this duck-shaped AI, and this cell was built by him. That's what I'm hearing. Matt's mind was blown. Since it's an AI that controls this place, that means he's going to follow the rules to the letter. He stood up. He told everyone in the cell to listen to him. As long as the entire prison is working together. If everyone in the prison works together and completes the minimum of 50 laps tomorrow, no one will be punished for completing fewer laps than anyone else. At the same time, he warned anyone who tried to sneak in more mills. If they break the rules, they'll be breaking their own ease. For the long-term benefit, I'm sure everyone will be willing to follow this rule. All the people around applauded Matt. They were adamant that they would cooperate in enforcing this rule. The next day, Matt finished the 50 laps and waited for the end of the day. However, just 5 minutes before the end of the day, the artificial intelligence suddenly sent a notification. He temporarily added a new rule. The person who wins the first place today can get out of jail early. When Matt heard that, Matt told everyone to calm down and only responded to the sound of one grinding machine after another. As expected, in front of enough profit, any betrayal is possible. Matt was devastated. He was mad. He denounced the AI's oppressive behavior and refused to pull the mill for him in the future. And that was it. Matt is in his last year today. He's about to receive special treatment from the company. As the steel door opens, dozens of well-dressed salesmen walked in. Matt prayed that they could save him, but everyone there was like a machine. There was no expression. The guard walks in. He prepares the sedative in his hand. It turns out that the so-called special treatment is to donate all of Matt's organs to the company. This is also stated in advance in a small line in the corner of the contract. When he heard that, Matt was so angry that he rushed forward. He pushed the guard to the ground with an iron fist and taught him a lesson. But the next moment, he was surprised at a desk. The guard was wearing a company uniform and came to Matt's side. It turns out that everything that happened in the cell was created by the company. Brain simulation training. They slowed down the flow of time in Matt's consciousness. The 3 months he spent in the cell. In reality, only half an hour had passed. The man told Matt that he's been hired by the company. After this simulation, the system analyzed all of Matt's personality traits. Matt's leadership is demonstrated by his behavior in leading the protest against the rules. He'll be assigned to the middle of the company. That's a real bonus. The men took him to the 66th floor. This is where he'll have his own office. He passes through the corridor. The man introduces him to the company's boss, Doc AI. He was very pleased with Matt's performance in the simulation. Step by step, he walks into the modern office. The man told Matt his daily job is to scrub through 100,000 videos and watch them all. Matt silently closed the office door. He sat back in his seat and felt an emptiness because he knew deep down that he had just gone from one cage to another.